Hello, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of the AIP podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Well, today we have this amazing guest on the show with us today. His name is Anik Seth. He is with us from Huex Labs, and Huex is a platform that unlocks the power of AI to transform your human experience. Huex builds products to assist and make their everyday human experience better, be it businesses, their personal life. The goal is really to create an ecosystem of products and solutions that assist in daily touchpoints and human interactions that one may encounter. With UX Labs, they're now building some exciting products, and we're going to dive deep into these that have a profound impact in the future of how we transact, interact, and even extract information from one another. So, a superbly warm welcome to you, Anik. It's such a pleasure to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Excited to be here, and big fan, and yeah, look forward to our discussion.
Absolutely. Tell me, Anik. I think everybody's got this burning desire to learn more about you and your background. How did you come to start HUX, and what's your backstory?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I come from an unorthodox experience into my world of kind of AI and technology. I grew up in a family business where we owned and operated, several fast food locations. At an early age, 8 or 9 years old, my parents gave me a J cloth and a mop and told me, hey, go clean the floors, clean the tables, clean the washroom, so to speak. But I started to grow a passion towards the industry. And through high school, that was my high school job, and even university, working on weekends in those respective fast food locations. But through that experience, up until a point where I was also became a franchise owner, I started to realize a lot of kind of interesting opportunities or problems, but disguised as opportunities, where one of the fundamental issues in our industry, in the fast food industry, was labor and access to labor. I think you're seeing a big renaissance of labor right now, migration of the current labor pool and those type of positions to emerging gig economy positions. And you see it in the headlines. There's a big deficit of labor in these fast food positions. So as a result of that and being exposed to that, Huex Labs was born in about 2019. And Huex Labs' whole thesis is we're focused on building applied voice AI solutions for brick and mortar use in restaurants. So one of the first use cases right off the bat is having a conversational agent in fast food drive-throughs to help order taking functions, which A, helps improve productivity for the business, helps manage labor by providing stable labor in the form of this digital employee, but more importantly, help create efficiencies around those processes.
That's amazing. One of the biggest things about voice AI technology, and it's exploded as a market right now, in recent years, but there are so many difficulties and obstacles in voice AI technology, particular to things like ambient noise, voice isolation, static, and even worse still, different accents and, speech impediments even. No offense, but how do you deal with that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I have to give credit to my team and my research team, my AI team on solving this problem. But, we take a very unique approach to our first aspect of it, which is speech recognition. Obviously, the solution is multiple aspects: natural language processing, speech recognition, text to speech technology, and even for us, edge computing. But speaking of voice specifically, we've developed some denoising algorithms that help kind of alleviate those ambient noises that occur in these harsh environments. And number two, we take a very data driven approach where our model is continuously learning from a speech recognition standpoint. So we know different geographies, we have different demographics, and our speech model actually adapts to that. Where in some cases, even with accented customers or accented users, actually still exceeding 95% and onwards.
Wow, that's amazing. During our pre podcast briefing, you mentioned this thing about deep growing neural gas. I've not heard that one before. Tell me what that's all about.
Yeah, I guess since we're talking fast food, that's kind of our quote unquote secret sauce. So deep neural neural gas is our approach to natural language processing. I think, giving some context, our system's already in passing this has transcribed and kind of looked at almost 2 million conversations. And of those 2 million conversations in the fast food environment, 60% of orders are pretty straightforward, but we came to discover 40% are very ambiguous in nature, and may have other multiple kind of qualities and factors occurring in those conversations. And what I mean by that is individuals may cancel, change their mind mid-order, have multiple intents in one sentence. Oh, I'm going to order this, but I'm going to cancel my previous order or what was said. So as a result of this complexity, we have to really dig deep in terms of innovation to see how do we solve this problem. And as a result, from a natural language processing standpoint, this is where deep growing neural gas was born, where essentially it's I would say, a perceptual deep learning platform where it's able to handle this type of complexity. So if there's multiple intents in one order, someone's changing their mind mid order, someone's canceling or adding something while the order is occurring. These are the type of things that our system is able to do effectively versus traditional kind of, I would say, branch and command NLP systems. What we find in conversations in these environments, a lot more complex in that sense, and there's a lot more happening in terms of a dialogue versus our traditional kind of Alexa or Siri devices.
That's amazing. Tell us about some of your current gigs that you're working on, and you mentioned as well your fundraising. Tell us more.
Yeah, I think we're active right now. Have a really exciting time for us with some POCs and pilots with some few prominent brands in North America, along with working with a broad franchise network across almost 100 locations. So we're really, really excited about the future direction of UX and what's going on behind the scenes. I think for us, obviously, to capture that growth and take our IP to the next level, and obviously, good work that the team has done. We're in the midst of fundraising right now, so yeah, we're actually looking to raise a round right now, roughly $1.5 million. But that's going to really propel us forward to really scale the solution, not just in North America, but either customers we've also identified in the London market and Australia market as well.
That's great. So, when you talk about voice AI, a lot of people start thinking, oh, that's the frustrating system and robot that I talk to at my bank or at my airline. What's really the true frontier of voice AI and voice technology?
Yeah, I mean, and you said it best, right? Like voice AI, the way we've been exposed, it's similar to that what we have with our Alexa devices, the phone calls we can make to our bank, or sometimes our telecommunications provider, and they have their IVR system running in the background. But right now, I think we're in a phase where natural language processing, conversational AI, and even voice AI is like in phase, I would say, 1.0. And what I mean by that, it's good in terms of handling very linear command and branch type of commands. Hey, for example, what's your name? What are you calling about? And it'll connect you to the appropriate department. Where the future I really feel of voice AI is going is kind of what Google alluded to back in around 2018, 2019 when they introduced a duplex system. So what I mean by that is conversational AI now taking it to the next level and able to handle complex conversations. So having multiple intents in one sentence, that's going to be the future of conversational AI systems. We're now currently with the systems we use, it's handling one intent at a time. So complexity into these conversations and having more humanized conversations as a result, I think that is the future on voice AI and NLP as it evolves, specifically around the humanization aspect. When we talk to our devices right now, we like to say you're speaking the machine language. You're speaking in a way the machine's going to understand. But realistically, human beings don't talk like that. And that's where we're trying to build a future of conversational AI to say, hey, regardless of accent, regardless of the way you communicate, our system should be capable of understanding you. And that's kind of the future or the bridge into, I would say, NLP 2.0.
That's amazing. What do you think is the future of this technology, particularly in the application space? I mean, do you think with the more humanistic way that voice AI is becoming, is there a real risk of us getting to singularity?
I think that's the $1 trillion question everyone asks every day, right? So I think everyone talks about AI moving towards singularity. I still think we're a long way from there, but we're working towards it. But when I look at the future of this type of application, I mean, it's endless, right? I mean, we're applying right now in a brick and mortar setting, fast food locations, etc. And what we see in the future now is, see the whole emergence of Web3. Well, brands may want personification in Web3. How are they going to do that? They're not going to, have a team of 30, 40 people online in Web3 at all times. They may. But if you can create a humanized AI system capable of conversation and back and forth, you can have representation of Web3. So I really think there's emergence across many sectors, not to mention other brick and mortar businesses as well, right? You're walking into your grocery store, you're walking into your hardware store, we talked about the labor challenge. That was kind of the thesis to get all this started. They're also facing that crunch as well, right? So as a result, these type of applications can be deployed for many use cases and omni-channel use cases, be it telephone, mobile app, and as I mentioned, Web3.
Absolutely. So tell us your biggest takeaway or lesson that you've taken away from being a startup founder.
Yeah, I think startup world is tough. It's a not a linear journey by any stretch. So it's I would say a curvy roller coaster. It's been an exciting journey to say the least. But one true takeaway, of this that I've learned is good innovation and great innovation is kind of born out of necessity and constraint. So in the environments that we've dealt in, mono microphones, complexity of language. It wasn't a cookie cutter type of solution you could deploy, but because of those constraints, our innovation around deep neural gas was born, our capability to handle kind of complex dialect, accents, language in terms of conversation. We're able to kind of solve that to a degree, but with those constraints, I think it really leads to development of great IP, more so the advancement of artificial intelligence. So that's been my biggest learning right now. It's kind of handling those challenges and how you can turn those into opportunities for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Anik, thank you so much for taking your time out today. It's been such a thrill to have spent time with you. Once again, to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in. And you can contact Anik at Huex.ai. That's Huex.ai. This is Anne from SuperCharge Lab on behalf of the AIP podcast, signing up. Over and out.